give that vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino. We come to you on a Sunday evening. We told you if anything happened, we would be here. Cue the sound. In what some predicted would be the biggest trade in Sacramento history, De'Aaron Fox has been traded. We're going to open it up to all of you. We'll talk about the deal, multi-team deal, what it means for the Kings. Is there possibly another move coming? Do you like the deal? Do you not like the deal? We'll go through the details of it. Hopefully we'll have Grant joining us as well, but we are here for you tonight to kick this around. De'Aaron Fox tenure in Sacramento appears to be over. Indications earlier today started coming out, started hearing some things, and sure enough, it has come to fruition according to numerous outlets. Bobby Marks, Shams, The Athletic. Let's talk about it, Sacramento. Some of us were in favor of it. Some of us weren't. Let's see where we end up. Welcome in to If You Don't Like That.
Break it down, it's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of Williams, the D-Hop. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like.
Good evening, Ryan in Sacktown with you. Hopefully soon to be joined by Grant Napier and certainly joined by all of you. The phone lines are open to you. The way we're going to do it tonight, I don't think I'm going to open up the telephone line because Grant's likely going to be coming in. So you're going to have to call through Restream. If you would like to call the show, now is the time. Start lining up. All you got to do is hit the link that is going to be fluctuating throughout the chat. You can also scan the QR code that is on the screen. De'Aaron Fox on his way to San Antonio. There were some things. What's up, Steely? What's up, y'all? Okay, let's not get crazy yet. Debo leaving. Here we go. Debo's happy. Let's not get crazy with things. Yes, Debo had a good relationship with Zach LaVine. There were reports that he was the conduit between Zach LaVine and Billy Donovan during Debo's tenure in Chicago. But let's talk about what matters first and foremost. De'Aaron Fox, 8 years here in Sacramento. You could see the signs coming up that something was going to change. A lot of smoke over the last week. In fact, over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, it's been a big topic of conversation. Today, this afternoon, phones started buzzing, words started circulating around people with connections. I started getting some indications that things were heating up. Now, this is an important reminder. You got to be really freaking careful about what you're reading on the X. 30 minutes before this came out from Shams, there were NBA reporters reporting a San Antonio deal that was strictly between San Antonio and the Kings, that had the Kings getting some of the San Antonio assets in terms of players who can play right now. But what we're talking about right now is real. De'Aaron Fox on his way to San Antonio, the place of his choosing to a degree. Did the Kings do much to cater to De'Aaron Fox? I don't know. We're going to hear from you. Hopefully we will hear from Grant here in a little bit. Here's what I do know. I've been saying for like the last 6 months on my shows, go Kings, light the beam, stay the hell away from LaVine. Zach LaVine who's had a really good season, by the way. He has stayed on the court. That's been the big knock on him. He's not able to stay on the court. His contract is massive, making $43 million this year. Next year, 45.9. The year after that, 48.9. The number doesn't look as bad when he's on the court and he's playing well. The Kings shooting last night in Oklahoma City. My goodness. One of the worst losses I can remember. In fact, the rebounds, 70 rebounds that you give up. 70 rebounds for those that keep a Kings record book. That was the most in the last 10 years given up by a Kings team. The previous high was 68 to Memphis on November 28th of 21. So who knows if that spurred it. I think, and sorry, bad play on words, spurred it. I think what really probably kicked this along a little bit more was the deal last night. We've had many discussions about whether or not the Kings would be the first shoe to drop. Is there a good side of being the first domino to fall? Is there a bad side? But there's always one. Last night, the Luka trade for Anthony Davis absolutely shocked everyone, sent shockwaves through the NBA. And money-wise, what it says about the new CBA and what's going on with trades, with salaries, it says everything. Luka is no longer available for a Supermax. Think about this for a second. For the Kings fans out there that said De'Aaron Fox is a Supermax player, the Dallas Mavericks did not feel Luka was a Supermax player. They had reservations about that. A lot of that has to do with the CBA, not as much Luka. But enough about that. Let's talk about this deal. Let's get into the details of it really quick. Shams putting this tweet up, full trade. Spurs get De'Aaron Fox, Jordan McLaughlin, the Kings, Zach LaVine, City Sias. I don't even know really that name. I'll be quite honest with you. That one caught me off guard. 3 first-round picks: 2025 Charlotte, 2027 San Antonio, 2031 Minnesota. 3 second-round picks: 2025 Chicago, 2028 Denver, 2028. They get their own back. The Bulls get Zach Collins. It's a 3-team deal, obviously, with San Antonio. Trey Jones and Kevin Huerter on his way to the Chicago Bulls. Chicago liked Kevin Huerter for a while. We knew that. Now, Bobby Marks goes into a little bit more detail, a guy that I absolutely love and respect. He nails it with the numbers. This is what it means. The 2027 pick is unprotected from San Antonio. The 2031 unprotected from Minnesota. 2025, this draft is a top 14 protected from Charlotte, meaning if Charlotte's in the lottery, you're not getting that pick. So, how do you feel about it? Let's talk about it. A lot to get into. Nurko, thank you so much for the super chat. The chat is moving furiously right now. We'll get to as many as we can. Calling, if you want to be heard, is the best way to do it at this point. Super chats will get priority because they pop up on our screen separately. So thank you very much for the super chat. Bye, Fox, and welcome, LaVine. Better days are in front of us. Now, if you look really quick at the setup of the Kings and what they have done best at times this season, maybe if you mix in some of the games that De'Aaron Fox was out for, the one thing that was really kind of missing there, that hole, is the shooting. The shooting, having that weak side shooting guard that can really clean up and is a big threat. That's different now that you're running an offense predicated around the pick and roll. And what's this mean about Malik Monk? Malik Monk's your guy, y'all. Malik Monk is your point guard. That's how much this Kings organization trusts in Malik Monk. That is how much this Kings organization likes what Malik Monk has done. The analytics don't lie. Monty McNair has an entire analytics team looking at that stuff. And again, that's not the whole reason. This is a lot of different things into one pot mixed together. We haven't even opened up this discussion. Did the Kings have to make this move before the deadline? Did they need to? A lot of people thought that the Kings' leverage value for De'Aaron could be better in the offseason. So we've got so much to chew on. And by the way, here's the other thing. We are still 3.5 days out from the trade deadline. So could the Kings still have something up their sleeve? Are they not done? We'll see. A lot to go on. Do you like the deal? Do you not like the deal? You want to talk about De'Aaron, his favorite moments here? Whatever you want to do, we're here for it. So we promised you we would be on the air to talk about this. A lot going on. Let's get right to the phones. Charles, what's going on tonight?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. Thanks for coming on tonight. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you having me. This trade, my instant reaction to it, if last night hadn't happened, this would probably be the most talked about move of the deadline. But considering what happened last night, that's definitely not the case. And I don't know how to feel about De'Aaron Fox being gone, honestly. It's a very odd situation for sure. Zach LaVine has definitely is playing extremely well this season.
Yep.
But defensive, do we really want LaVine? Because I mean, our defense is definitely not going to get better from this trade for our starting lineup.
Sure.
Because I'm assuming, because you said that Monk would still probably be moved to the point guard, which honestly I like him a lot more as a point guard than Fox was, because Monk's more of a playmaker than Fox was, while Fox was more of like a scorer.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's a very odd situation, and I'm kind of in the boat of let's just see what happens, and we'll take it from there. But I also want to ask one question before I go, and it doesn't have to do with like any like.
Absolutely not. No questions. I'm kidding with you, buddy. Of course. What's up, Charles? Hit me.
What I mean, this is more of like a what's your opinion on what Fox's legacy should be? How do you think we should remember him? Should we remember him fondly, or should we not let these like this the part of this part of the season where Fox's trade rumors were becoming a huge distraction for the team? Should we not let this affect how we view his overall career here?
So I'll say this. I'm not ready to issue my obituary on De'Aaron Fox's time in Sacramento. But for me, my first thoughts are this last 2-3 weeks where is he going to be traded? Is he not? Is it a distraction for the team? That for me is nothing compared to the 3 weeks not talking to the media last season. I look at that as a bigger deal when I'm thinking about how I remember De'Aaron Fox as a King. And even taking that into regard, I'm not saying that puts a big black eye on his time here, but my mind goes to that first. My mind goes to the Halliburton situation, whatever that was all about. That's kind of where I go. Those are the bigger things. I think this back end was more business than anything. Any Kings fans that didn't see this coming to a head by this summer were obviously not looking, because this is what happens when you're a player of his magnitude. You don't go into your last year without an extension. And, you know, I think overall he's going to be remembered as one of the better Kings. I think maybe to a degree I don't want to say overvalued, but I don't know. I got to think about that. That's a great question. It's a really good question. How about you? Does it put a black eye on it for you?
Overall, not in this moment. I don't want to hold too much against him. I like to give in most situations. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Fox. I mean, you know, I agree with you. This is just business, and I also agree with you about how last season's whole debacle where he didn't speak to the media for 3 weeks. I found that to be extremely unprofessional.
Yeah.
Especially considering that was a time where we really needed questions to be answered by him, considering that we viewed him as the leader. But overall, we did end up breaking that playoff drought with him. And I feel that he did
We
I
broke
feel
it
that
with
he
him
did.
and Sabonis. We got
Yes,
to be
correct,
important about that because
correct.
De'Aaron
Yeah,
didn't do it on his own.
that's very true. I don't know why I forgot to mention Sabonis. I would say, looking back on that, like this year, I would say that Sabonis for sure this year and even maybe last season, I could argue that Sabonis was by far our best player on this team.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, Fox got through his the first tumultuous years where he had to go through. What was it? Was it three coaches or was it just two? With because it was Dave Yeager and Luke Walton, and then was there another one in the mix, or am I? Were those
Uh,
the two that?
I got to go back and think about it, to be honest with you. Because if you count interim coaches, Alvin Gentry, he's had a handful. There's no doubt about that. And to
Yeah,
be fair, most Kings have had, if you've been here for, 6, 7, 8 years, you've probably gone through, unless you were part of the Adelman years, numerous coaches.
yeah. I mean, I think overall for me personally, I'll be like I won't give a standing ovation like if I'm at a game where he returns, but
Okay.
I won't feel any ill will toward him either, though.
Right. I I
Well,
I I think that's fair. I think he's always going to get a very warm reception here in Sacktown. I think that's completely fair. And to your point about the time where he didn't speak to the media, and I brought that up as well. The more troubling part of that for me was his numbers dropped significantly during that time, like dropped significantly. And so, if it was, Sam Amick had some very good reporting on it. If that was all over a miscommunication behind the scenes about who was supposed to talk to the media after a game, that's insane to me. It speaks both to maybe a little bit of immaturity by De'Aaron, a little bit of passive aggressiveness, and it also speaks to just how crappy this organization can be ran sometimes. Period. End of story. Like, how do you let that linger? You just can't call the player into your office, cut it off, get done with it. You know what I mean, Charles?
yeah, I get it, but we're kind of used to this as sorry. I mean, I've been a Kings fan my whole life.
Okay, but
Definitely used to this.
just because we're
Oh,
used to it doesn't mean we have to be okay with it. That's the thing.
true.
Just because we're
Hmm.
used to it, we have voices too. It's okay to
Hmm.
boo players when they're not doing the right things. I'm not saying out there and go
Hmm.
boo them for any reason, but we got to push back too. Because if you don't push back, nothing changes.
Hey, I'm definitely not saying I'm okay with it, but it's just sometimes for me because it was my younger years where we had Vlade as the general manager. You just kind of get like numb to it, and it kind of becomes
It's so true. It's so
yeah,
true.
you just get used to it. You just like I just grew up with that.
Yeah,
But
I hear you, brother.
well, thank you for having me on. I'm gonna do my own research on this City Sissoko guy. I'm hoping right now that at least he's like a 3 or a 4. I'm hoping at
Yeah,
least. But
I apologize. I came straight to the air, so I did not really research the player. We'll get into it as the show goes along. Do your research, put it in the chat, and we will kick it around.
alrighty. Well, other people probably want to call. So thanks for having me.
Yeah,
And
you got it.
hopefully, hey, fingers crossed, maybe something magical will happen.
For
Maybe.
sure. For sure. Thanks, Charles. Way to kick us off tonight. Good job by Charles kicking us off. Rock, my man. Rhino, I got what I asked for. Herder's contract gone. We got LaVine. Shoots 51%, 45% from 3, and we got 6 draft picks. Love it. One more move left. I don't know. You got a lot of draft picks there. It's a lot of draft picks. And what I'm looking at as a Kings fan and not an analyst is, they're kind of win now, even though they're not technically built to win now, or they're not perfectly built to win now. I don't think you're waiting around for some of those picks. I just don't see how you can. I think you've got to try to parlay that into something else. I could be way off, but with DeMar DeRozan just a couple of days ago saying he didn't want to play more than 5 years, which is respectable. Sabonis, his contract, you've got him through. In fact, let's take a quick look. We're coming to all the calls. So thank you very much for that. Here's how the Kings financial situation plays out. You got the Bulls on the left because we were looking at LaVine's contract. You got Sabonis through 27-28. Keon will be up at the end of next year. And then Keegan, you have through 26-27. Malik through, I'm going to say 26-27. The reason I'm going to say through 26-27 is this. That's a player option in 27-28. If this is partially Malik's team and he continues to improve and him and Sabonis continue to have an excellent connection, I'm opting out. If I am Malik Monk, not saying he's leaving, but I am asking for more money. So you got to look, how do the picks line up for the future? So we'll get into all that as the night goes. But again, I want to open it up to all of you. Hopefully we will have Grant joining us here in a little bit to talk about De'Aaron Fox on his way out, Zach LaVine on his way in. So I always tell you that, like, Dennis, who is a loyal member of the King's Court, dude is like always sending me stuff, always talking a little junk, right? He went to this point where, and Dennis, I'm going to share this. I don't even care. Dude sent me a voice message via DM. Listen to this. This is so good. Is it going to play? Come on. You got to play. He's talking junk. I told you we needed LaVine. It was great. All right. It's not going to play. We'll go back to the phones. We'll figure it out later. Dennis, you can call it and do that on your own. Let's go to, I see you, Dirk. I see you, Andy. I see you, Jamie. Coming to you guys next. But first, Jay, what's up tonight, Jay?
How you doing, Rhino?
Good. What's up, my man?
Now, obviously, all of us being Kings fans, you know, we hear the news, and you know it's groundbreaking for us a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But last night's trade, insanity.
Crazy.
So if that trade did not happen, and then the De'Aaron Fox trade just happened, obviously it would be even earth shattering for us. But that trade right there is that trade right there is it's going down in history. So this one isn't that shocking to me, you know. And also you could say we kind of were expecting it. We kind of got the heads up. But as far as the trade goes, as you see that 2025 Charlotte pick, that turns into 2 seconds. Excuse me. Actually, you could just call it 2 seconds unprotected the next year and then the year after. When I was looking around the trade machines a couple days ago, I noticed that San Antonio had that pick. I was hoping that we would not get that pick because of the protections that are on that pick. We have the San Antonio Spurs. They have their own 2025 pick, which I'm not sure why they didn't ask for it, or maybe they did. And also their Atlanta pick that was unprotected. So
right, they had those two.
Yeah, I would have much rather went for those two. But obviously there's reasoning for whatever happened and what's going on. And like you said, they have a lot of picks. I guess you could say I'm proud of the ownership for getting a guy like Zach LaVine and not just tanking for a guy like Stephon Castle and maybe some better picks, because you do have DeMar, you do have Sabonis, you know, and you got Monk. So you got some guys who are in their prime, and you're not going to just tank with those guys in your prime and wait for some rookies and some draft picks to, you know, develop. So I like how you get a guy who is a two-time 100% solidified all-star, not a reserve all-star, who's had a historically much better three-point shooting percentage than De'Aaron Fox, who is just as athletic, not as fast, but is just as a freak of an athlete as De'Aaron Fox is in his prime right now as well. So my question to you is, we heard what DeMar said. Is this a DeMar? What do you think about this? Do you want to still be here now that we have Zach? Or
No.
Do you think he stays?
No, I don't think that DeMar was. I don't see DeMar on the move. I don't know why you would move him at this point, but I don't think he was consulted in this whatsoever. Here's my concern about LaVine.
Well, after, not necessarily. I don't think he was consulted either. But do you have that conversation now and you say, hey, DeMar, I want to do what's best for you. You know, you're a Hall of Famer. Do you want to be here still now that we got Zach? Or do you want to move?
I don't think that's a conversation. I think I don't think you even broach it, to be honest with you.
I mean, I don't think DeMar is mad at it.
No, why would you even broach that? This team's not restarting. They're just retooling, and he's a significant part of that. I think, in fact, you could argue the
That's
fact
why
that
he
they
went to
went
Chicago.
the fact that they went and got a guy like LaVine, an asset that's a play now asset, speaks to the fact that they want to they want to improve whatever this thing has been the last 2.5 years. And DeMar's a big part of that. If they thought DeMar would be moving on, then just blow it up, start the rebuild,
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't have went for the LaVine contract. You would have went for the young guys and more better draft capital. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's why I said I was proud of the front office for noticing. Hey, Sabonis is in his prime. DeMar ain't got all day, and Monk and Sabonis, the numbers are great.
Really good.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you as well. Oh, my mind just blanked. That's crazy. Oh no, dang! It was a
Okay, well, you think about it. I'm going to say this really quick.
yeah.
Here's
Please.
here's what I worry about with LaVine. Last year, 25 games. 58 games in 2021, or in 2020, 2021, 24 games in 2017, 2018. It's can he stay on the court? Knock on wood. He has done so this year and played very well. But that's the big thing. And here's the other thing too. A conversation that we have had over the last week on this channel, or at least on my programming on this channel, has been about not having a bad contract per se. And now arguably the Kings kind of have one to a degree with Zach LaVine, because I don't know what the percentage is, but his contract has some language that he gets a pay bump if he's traded. Now, it's not like a crazy significant percentage, but when you're dealing with this kind of money, it's money. But I wonder now, because now that you got that LaVine contract, where is the other money to improve the team in the other spots going to come? Because you're still going to have 5 guys that expire. Well, 4 guys, because McLaughlin's gone, that expire, and you're going to have actually probably a little bit of less money to play with. And so I wonder if that's where these long-term picks possibly come into play.
Yeah, so that my mind is no longer blank, and that's kind of the direction I was headed, was pretty much, do you think that there is another move, being that the contract situation, getting rid of a guy like Herter, and bringing in essentially less salary, especially if you're considering the fact that Fox's max would be worth more than LaVine's current contract, and we have more cap space to play with? Are we looking at another move before the deadline? And, considering the fact that I mean, that Charlotte pick right there might be something the team is looking for. 2 pretty good seconds for a guy like a John Collins. I know Danny Ainge has been involved in a couple trades so far already. Or do you go and try to get a guy like Cam Johnson now for Trey Lyles straight up with some picks? Because I think you have the salary to do that. It offsets with getting rid of Herter's contract. So yeah, I want to get your opinion on that. That was what I wanted to ask, was how you improve this team, and do you think that there's another move coming?
I would not be surprised if there's another move. Now, I haven't heard anything that's telling me that, or indicating there could be another move, but it wouldn't surprise me when you look at the contracts the team has, and when, the core of this team is set to either be re-upped or possibly expire. So that's kind of that window that you want to maximize until you get to that. And, some of these picks are pretty far out. That Charlotte pick is not unprotected. It's top 14 protected. And it also means the Kings have got to hit. Here's the problem with some of the second round picks, and we'll put up the screen and see exactly when they are again. But you're going to have to hit on some guys, because you're going to have to fill some roster spots with limited resources.
Well, Monty and his analytics better get it right. That's all.
Well, it's just, which is fine. I mean, if you have a solid 8 to 9 man rotation, you're in decent shape. Now, what we saw last night in Oklahoma City, that's the exception to the rule. When you are that deep, that good, that's just special. That's why they're contenders. I'm not looking for something like that, but they've got to be better than where they're at tonight, as we said.
I would hope for a trade. I think it's like you said, you don't have a bench. I know that they know that. I mean, they saw it last night. You got to get some guys to come in and hopefully some defensive minded wings still. But yeah, I really hope they make a move. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jay. Really quick too. Here's the other thing: they're going to be thin at 2 guard until this thing gets finalized because
they were already thin.
You're right.
Herter wasn't doing nothing. They was already thin.
You are going to be thin at 1 guard and 2 guard until this gets finalized. I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I'm not going to say whether I expect things to be finalized in time for tomorrow's game. I would be very surprised.
Yeah, he's not playing tomorrow.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if things were finalized by then. So
no, you have physicals and a lot of things
going into tomorrow night. That means you've got Domas, DeRozan. Let's just talk backcourt. You've got, DeRozan, I guess, can play some too. You've got Malik. You've got Devin Carter. And you've got your 2, Keon, obviously, and then Colby, who, as of, I believe, earlier this week, was still assigned to Stockton. Mason's on the trip with them right now. You've got Mason Jones. So tomorrow should be interesting, to say the least.
I'll get out. I know this show's probably, they're ready. They're ready. So
it's crack-a-lacking.
I like it for the Kings. I like it for the Kings overall. Like I said, we're trying to remain relevant. You got to get a guy like LaVine. You can't go with them guys. So
appreciate you, Jay.
Love you guys. Love Rhino. Love you, Rhino. Love you, Grant. I'll be here.
Of course. Love you too, brother. JC, thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate that. De'Aaron Fox, 11,000 career points here in Sacramento. Franchise leader in assists, all-star, all-NBA. Gone. Zach LaVine headed to Sacramento, most notably. How do you feel about it? You've got, remember, here's the thing. You've swapped money out, and in a way, this team is not as deep now because you lose Herter. I know you're getting another player, but you've got that money on the books now. So this does not change the Kings' depth problem. Now, as Jay said, could the Kings make another move before the deadline? We will see. Very possible. If you're just joining the show right now, De'Aaron Fox on his way to San Antonio. He got out. He got the team that he wanted. I'm just going to go, and Grant and I kind of flirted at this last night, but I wonder how well San Antonio thinks that's going to work out, especially with them not willing to give up Steph Castle. That was a very firm thing. I heard that, and I hinted at it here, and I'm telling you now, they did not want to give up Steph Castle. Period, end of story. And there's an argument of why would you give up Steph Castle after 6 months or half a season with Wemby? But that shoe dropping last night, I'm telling you, I put out a podcast earlier today, this morning, talking about how the Luka deal is just a shock to the NBA system. There are players in the NBA that I guarantee are getting very worried, that were thinking, I'm on my way to that payday. I am on my way to being a supermax. That seeing that trade just absolutely shocked their system. And yes, I get Luka being traded is a big deal, but for Luka not to be available or have the supermax available to him now, but more importantly, for Dallas, think about this. We are talking about, in some people's books, a top 5 player in the league. Definitely probably a top 10 player in the league. A team in the NBA felt, and by the way, also in his prime. Now, I get he's not always in great shape. I get it. I understand he likes some Golden Corral, especially when he's in Sacktown. Nothing wrong with that in moderation. Although hit a casino, get a buffet there, not Golden Corral. But for them not to want to give him a supermax, think about that. What's that mean for everybody else? That's insane. But I think a big deal in this was that a shoe dropped. And you don't know. And if there was a press conference, like there should be a press conference. If I am Matt George, when he did his rant on this, if I'm anybody else that's had a beef with it, there needs to be a press conference. 100% from this front office after this trade deadline. Has to be a press conference. But if I was at a press conference, I would be asking some of those questions. Did you want to see a domino fall before you pulled the trigger on a Fox deal for either verification of value that you think you're getting fair value, or is it a panic move because of the Luka deal that you're afraid that Fox's value as the trade deadline goes on could skyfall even more? Those are the questions that I want to know. But enough about all the minutia with all that. Thank you for being here. Do me a favor, if you don't mind. I saw John Finch put in, I believe there's 499 watching on YouTube. If you wouldn't mind, give us a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. We've had 3,166 check in at some point through all the different platforms that we are streaming to. If you are watching on X, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Hopefully we'll have Grant joining us as well tonight. No promises. I will carry the show until then with your phone calls as we continue to digest this. A lot of people on hold. Let's go to Dirk. Dirk, what's up?
What's up, Ryan?
How you doing,
Still
buddy?
sorting out how I feel about the move right now.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I'm just gonna think back a little bit on Fox. You know, some of the favorite memories of him. I think the ninja headband was a real good look. So I'm sad that he couldn't keep that going from his rookie year. Kings Warriors was a crazy good first round matchup.
Yes. And
that Clippers double OT thriller with Malik Monk and Fox just carrying us through.
Yeah. That was a great moment.
Just such an amazing game.
Yeah.
And you know, when go ahead.
You remember the audio from after that game?
No, man, it's just so funny because
incredible.
I was actually on like an anniversary trip with my wife, and I wasn't gonna watch the game, and she's like, "No, you got to watch this." Like,
yeah,
knowing nothing about the game and tuning in and just being glued to it, it was crazy. But yeah, when he was at his best 2 years ago, I was vocalizing how he was my favorite King ever, just because he was so reliable, even unstoppable at times, to get into the mid-range, get his shot, get those buckets. It was just amazing. But lowest points are definitely this year. You know, he looks like a guy who, I don't know, just doesn't have a path to move forward with this organization, right? Like, he didn't know how to get any better. We're consistently having all of our starters available, yet we're not competitive with a lot of teams in this league. And you might say, Fox might look at that and just say, well, I don't know what else I can do. You know, I mean, we need talent, but talent's not coming. So I see why this is the outcome of this. I'm not going to try to get salty about Fox wanting to leave. I could understand, you know, if you're working with bad management, you might not want to hang around that much. Concerning this move, though, it's a bit confusing because I'd say Zach might be better than Fox a little bit right now, just the way Fox has been playing lately. But we didn't get any depth in this deal. So
no, you did not.
You got rid of two guys.
Yep.
And the guy we picked up, the nobody name, is a second round pick who's not playing any minutes. He's a 6'8" guy, but he doesn't get any minutes. So
Jaden McDaniels.
Maybe. I haven't looked at his stats, but he's 20 years old. I don't think Jaden McDaniels is 20. So maybe there's some upside.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a half-hearted move to, you know, it's got some promise potentially. That 2031 first round pick for Minnesota could be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to recognize if that team's going to be relevant in 6 years. The San Antonio first rounder is very intriguing because you know that team's one injury away from the unicorn, you know, to suddenly just not, you know, being in a very good position to get a pick. So I'm not banking on an injury there, but he's not proven that he can win in this league. And they have built, the San Antonio Spurs built a roster of a lot of, you know, high lottery picks over the years, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it wasn't until they hit Wemby that people starting to think they're relevant. So are they just that bad at drafting? I don't know. I guess it's irrelevant because we didn't get any of their players. So
yeah, look, if you're the Spurs, you've kind of won this deal. I don't know. I look at that and it's like you don't give up Steph Castle. I don't think they gave up, and we can go back and look because I've really focused on what the Kings are mostly getting and what the Kings are giving up. But they didn't, let's see, they get their 2025 pick. And yeah, I don't know exactly what San Antonio gave up in terms of draft capital in this one, but right off the top of my head. But they gave up the 2027, so they didn't give up the 2025. That was the big one because they've got that first round pick this year from Atlanta. See, like that, to me, that changes the deal. You get that pick because that's immediate. That's that depth issue, right, Dirk?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not concerned so much depth into the offseason, more so can we get some help? Like I was enjoying the premise of if you got two, and people have said you need to get more out of Fox than you know, you need a guy that could be a star. I was thinking if this team had a couple more role player guys who maybe average to slightly above average, they would look like a better team, at least right now. But you didn't get that. So, yeah, I mean, it just feels like a midway move. We didn't really set ourselves up for an amazing future. I mean, a bunch of second rounders and 2 first round picks that chances are they're going to be in the middle somewhere of the lottery. So, yeah, there needs to be another move.
We'll see. There's 3.5 days. That's what that kind of opens the door up for, at least. The trade deadline's Thursday, so can something else happen? This is now really the second significant shoe to drop. It'll be interesting to see how the NBA reports this or how the national media reports this. Because you remember the whole narrative, nobody wants to take the Zach LaVine contract. You can't give Zach LaVine away, and now it's Sacramento that's getting Zach LaVine. I'll be interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I just kind of feel how we feel about our ownership group is probably how the national media is going to feel about this ownership group in front office.
Yeah, for sure.
Been kind of embarrassing, but a lot of people waiting to call, so I'll say good night.
Appreciate you. Yep. Thanks, Dirk. Let's see. My man Gucci that's in the chat. Gucci, dude, I just got to say really quick, while I appreciate you being here, keep putting what you want in the chat, but look, the Kings bobblehead set from 2002 isn't coming back to coach this team. Okay? Here we go. Hopefully Doug can get the coaching job so he can hire Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Bobby Jackson as coach assistants. Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea. You know, that move of jumping to Doug, it's not a Doug thing. It was jumping 2 people on the bench to go to the 4th coach on the bench and give him the interim job. Grant made a great observation last night. He thinks that possibly hurt Domas's all-star chances because the coaches vote on the reserves. And the coaches did not like that move. The coaches saw that move and they were like, so there you go. Let's bring in Andy. Andy, welcome in today.
Rhino, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Man, so I actually was taking a nap and I woke up and a bunch of my buddies were like, LaVine, LaVine, LaVine. And I was like, oh no, it happened. But honestly, definitely mixed emotions, good and bad with the trade. I did have a question for you, but just to break it down, it's not really 3 first round picks because the Charlotte one for 2025, they're gonna probably be a top 3 pick. So I heard that's gonna, if it doesn't convey, it's gonna turn into 2 second round picks. So that could potentially be like 4 second round picks total, I believe. But even then, um, I mean, we still got 2 decent 1st round picks in the future. And, after seeing Luca only getting one, I mean, although they got Anthony Davis, but I mean, I'm not really too upset with the haul we got back. I mean, we have to keep in mind, like Fox didn't want to be here. He wasn't going to resign. And we all know, like, as time goes on, his trade value was probably going to slowly diminish, especially as his contract is getting closer to being up. So I am glad that, we were able to find a trade when we did. However, we did get rid of Herder and Jordan McLaughlin, and we only got 2 players in return, and I think we'll probably cut the other guy that we got. So I am very worried about our depth even more so, and we also didn't get another wing player that we desperately need too. Um, but overall, I guess we'll have to see how it works with LaVine. I was just wondering what your first impression is if we got fleeced, if this is a somewhat fair deal. I read a few things. Like the Kings didn't get much worse. They didn't get much better. They pretty much stayed the same. And we added 2 1st round picks. So it's not a terribly bad deal. But we also didn't get Castle. We didn't get any of the Spurs, younger players either. So I just want to see like what your instant reaction is.
Well, it's not. It's not that. It's not like over the moon. I I can give you a better answer after this trade deadline. And I can give you an even better answer. And this is if I don't see the Kings play another game this season. I can even give you a better answer after the draft just for this simple reason. It's it really for me comes down to if the Kings do anything with these back end draft picks. Because, like you said, you're not going to get that Charlotte pick. That's going to probably turn into 2 2s. Thank you for saying that. I just don't know. In the LaVine contract, look, it makes the Kings uh, at least the same, if not better, with LaVine, the way the team was playing. If you add that to the way the team was playing without Fox, but it's so dependent on what this NBA market does with this CBA. Like GMs are tiptoeing around this thing, that Luca deal, that they don't want to pay him. Like, what's that going to mean? Like, does that mean, because here's the other reality, this deal could be very, very pretty in this sense. Draft picks carry for a lot of teams. Draft picks are way more valuable, even 2nd round picks, than assets right now, because it comes with your opportunity to choose the player that you want. And then it's a set pay schedule for 4 years. So I don't know. It really depends on, again, after Thursday, I can give you a better answer. Right now, I'm pretty much in the middle.
I'm pretty much in the middle too, and getting all those seconds and those first back in return, I have to feel there's no way that they're done yet, and I'm hoping this is a precursor to another move. Like maybe they go get a Jonas Valanciunas. Maybe there's another move in store because we need depth. I mean, our starting 5 is good, but like you're gonna bring Keon off the bench, and who else at this point? Like we traded Kevin Herter. He was starting to get a little bit more minutes these last couple games, but he's gone. So I'm just wondering, like, who's our backup point guard? You know what I mean?
Well, I just brought that up a few minutes ago. You're going to have a lot of pressure on Devin Carter. who has not played well. I don't know if that means Mason's going to get some minutes. I don't know if that means Colby's going to get recalled. My guess is Colby gets recalled from Stockton. But yeah, you're going to have to figure that out. And here's the other thing we got to think of when you think of the depth. I go back to this. Zach LaVine last year, 25 games played. 25 games played. 24 games played in 2017-18. Like, this dude is injury prone. If I go down the list, he's played 42 this year. Good. 25 last year, 77, 67, 58, 60, 63, 24, 47, 82, and 77. So he's been in the league 10 years and he's played 622 games. So that's the other wild card here. There's a lot to dig into, man. You bring up some good points. I appreciate you. Thank you for the call, Andy. We will keep kicking this thing around. Appreciate you, brother. Good job by Andy. You know what? I do have to say really quick, who put this in there? And I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I loved
Yeet!
the result. I hated after coming off of watching that Kings game and being 2 minutes into the post-game show, somebody putting it in the chat. And even in the pregame show, I was like, please don't put any of that stuff in the chat tonight. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. And I was trying not to look at chat, but I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me that's not real. But no, I liked it. Joe Hendry was cool as well. Let's go back to the phones. Mr. Moss, Essie, I see you. Mike S, I see you. We're coming to you in a second. All right, here comes the LaVine trade. You know what? Do I even need to bring Dennis on? Dennis, I could do your call for you really quick. How about this?
Great success.
Thanks, Dennis. Have a great night. That's what he's going to say. Watch. Dennis, what's up?
Yo, my man, what's going down?
What's up, brother?
So happy. Oh, man, relieved. Relieved. I told you. I love this team. I called the draft pick, Devin Carter. I said, all we need is LaVine. You said no. I said, we got to get this guy. And then as the season progressed, we saw what LaVine does. And I'm just so happy we got him. We got, 2 second-round picks. Oh, sorry, 2 first-round picks, 5 second-round picks. I mean, we reloaded, honestly. And if Zach can give us what he does, man, we're better. How are we not better? And we got this 20-year-old who all these Spurs fans talked good about, so I'm positive about that. But Rhino, we got him. We got Zach LaVine. I told you.
This is Dennis right now.
With a tear in my eye.
You're killing me, man.
This is the greatest moment in my life.
I'm looking for a reaction, and I love it. Dennis, you know what? You're all over it, man. You said LaVine. It's funny though. I'm gonna give you some behind the scenes Kings Court. I don't know why, but Dennis does get a decent amount of attention from me in the DMs. He's one of the few people that I will respond to from time to time. And he's hitting me up. And there's a reason my son and I went to the movie at 2:00 today. There was a very good reason. It was not a night movie.
How was the movie?
It was really good, by the way. It was really good, actually. I enjoyed that. But, I told him, I was like, well, because he was talking about the San Antonio thing. I was like, why don't you wait? And I was kind of giving him a little stuff that I wasn't running with publicly. But the LaVine, I will say, I just, for me, I'm, wow. How did we get here?
I know.
How did we get here? It tells you how much the Kings really did think of LaVine before the season. They thought a lot about LaVine, if that's 100%. Where they go right now. Maybe LaVine showed them what they need to see for Monty. That's to Monty, 42 games, 34.1 minutes, 24 points a game. All right. Well, maybe Monty's seen enough. We'll see. Anything else, brother?
I'm just so happy, Rhino. Honestly, I called it. I called my shot. I always call my shot in the show.
Okay, are you happy about calling your shot, or are you happy that we have LaVine?
all of the above because I just know Monty loves my team as much as I do. I called the draft pick. I called LaVine. It's the dream. That's all it is. I love it. Love you. Later.
All right, be well, dude. What are we gonna do with this guy, man? What are we going to do with you, Dennis? Mosh, you're coming up. Mike, you're coming up first. Essie, what's up tonight, Essie?
Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, man?
Listen, unlike your last caller, I'm very disappointed in this
Okay.
trade. And throughout the season, what have we seen? We go into double-digit deficits in the first quarter. We
Yep.
get 40 dropped on us, 38 dropped on us, 37 dropped on us. So what does that tell you? Even if we would trade with San Antonio and gotten like someone like Vassell, who's still a shooting guard, um, this does not solve our problem. We need to bring Keegan to the three and have a legit sort of like a Bobby Portis type. Not I'm saying him exactly, but someone like starter caliber for the Kings at the four position to help out DeMontis Sabonis. This is not solving any of our problems. I'm not excited about having a 6'5" guard who's going to be making 45, 46 million and has a team option for the following season on our books who's injured all the time. Who could possibly be happy about this? I mean, if you're just the NBA casual, maybe, but if you've been watching, you know, every single game, like my friends and I have, none of us are excited about this. Zach LaVine in a bubble, yeah, he's a great player, wonderful player, but does he meet the deficit that this team has for defense for 3 and D wings? No, I'm
No.
sorry, he does not. So I joined your show a little bit late. I'm not sure if you guys already talked about this, but I'm I'm not happy. And I think San Antonio Spurs and the Lakers have shown in the past 24 hours how to win an actual trade. They did Spurs got everything they wanted. They didn't give up any of those meaningful first round
They
picks,
didn't give
in
up the
my opinion.
2025. That
Yeah.
2025, yeah,
So what are
from
we
Atlanta.
excited about? What why like I don't know, man. I've gone to several Kings games this year, past years, since the Beam team won, and I just don't know if I could support this franchise anymore, man.
Wow.
This is really, really heartbreaking that yeah,
Wow.
because think about Levine. If he doesn't work out, if you want to trade him, he has that trade kicker which you alluded to earlier, right?
Yep.
And on top of that, if he does get injured again, how are you going to move someone who's worth $45 million who gets injured?
You don't. That's
So
the risk. That's why
yeah,
I said you stay the hell away from him. That's why through the summer, go Kings, light the beam, stay the hell away from Levine. Like
yeah,
that's what it was. And I think you just hit on the $1 million question. Has 42 games this season where he's played 34.1 minutes make up for the 25 games he only played last year and the injury concerns throughout his career. I mean, is that enough of a sample size for this fan base? And maybe I guess it was for the front office to buy in on him, because that's the big concern. It's that bad contract. And it's one of those things that during Monty's time as GM, you hit on it very well. He had not had a bad contract on the books, or one that could become a bad contract. He kept things fairly fluid. If things weren't working, you could dip, you could dive, you could zig, you could zag. He just didn't happen to do it. But now you can't really do that with this LaVine contract unless LaVine starts to play up to or outplays his contract. Essie.
yeah. And I just encourage Kings fans, if you guys want to really send a message to Vivek in the front office, don't go to any more games. That's how we send a message. Otherwise, if we're like the number one the Kings are the number one fan base in the NBA for a reason. We stick by our team through thick and thin. But this is just ridiculous. If we don't make a move to get like a good 3 and D wing by the sixth, then we're just going to be mediocre. And eventually, Debo said he wants out if Fox isn't here, so that's a liability. Number one. Number two, if this team continues to suck, why would Sabonis want to stay here?
Well, Debo didn't exactly say that.
He said he came here because he wanted to play with Fox, and he
He
doesn't
said
have that much longer left on his, in his NBA career, right?
he said that Monk, Sabonis, and Fox were part of the recruitment, a big reason why he chose to come here. He said he doesn't want to play past another 5 years, but I mean, in those terms, I didn't even hear like the creative language saying, at least in his comments, that he would not want to stay in Sacramento. Maybe I heard, we can listen to it again. I have it, but it's a good thing
Okay.
to check out for sure.
Well, last thing I want to leave you guys with is, as long as the Kings organization, as long as their goal is, let's make it to the second round of the playoffs. And I understand the mentality of it being a stepping stone to getting better. Just like, the days when Chris Webber and Vlade were here, it took them a few years before they, made it to the Western Conference Finals. But if the mentality is let's just make it to the second round, then you're going to fall short and you're going to be, a play-in team at best, or maybe not even make it until they set their sights on actually being a championship contender. And then you fall short, then you might be a second round exit or maybe Western Conference Finals. Like, this team is not being built in a way, the roster construction still hasn't shown me that they're trying to like win a championship. It's just really, really sad. So, but anyways, thanks for
Let
taking
me
my
ask you,
call.
can I ask you one
Yeah,
question before
go
you
ahead.
go?
Yeah.
What trade would have made you feel the opposite way?
You know, sorry for using this kind of language, but if the office had some balls, the way, uh, you know, Rob Pelinka had, and went and made relationships with the Dallas Mavericks and had coffee with their GM, say, hey, what do you think about Luca? What do you think about this and that? Like, go make relationships and get someone, go snatch someone like um, Ro- um, a Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks, or someone on that level. I don't know who it is, but someone of that level. We really, really, really don't need. I mean, I feel like the front office has got like a sign, kind of like amusement parks, where it says you have to be this tall to get on this ride. It's like, do you have to be like under 6'6" to be traded to the Kings? I mean, come on, this is ridiculous, man.
All
We
right.
pay good money to go to these
You
games.
do. That's a fair point. You pay
So,
a lot of money to go to those games. And that's why I said earlier in the show, like, and whether you like it, you don't like it, you don't always have to be okay with everything. Just voice your opinion,
yeah.
and that's how fans voice their opinions. So appreciate you. Thanks
All
for
right.
the call.
Thanks,
Thanks
Dre.
for
All
the
right.
insight.
Thank you.
Good stuff from Essie. Well, I can tell you one thing. If you want to build a good relationship, and I mean a really good relationship with a friend, your significant other, do them a favor, do yourself a favor, get to Bennett's West Side Grill, the newest location in Rockland, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Go to the website, check out everything they have to offer, but make sure you also look at the specials. Like, for instance, tonight, prime rib on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Also, weekend brunch at all 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area, 11 to 2 o'clock. One of our family's favorites. We were just there this past weekend. Also, want something lighter? Not a problem. They've got incredible salads, sandwiches, homemade soups, baked items at some locations as well. You can put your orders in to go right there on the website, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations there, buy gift cards, everything you need right there. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go check them out. We love getting feedback from all of you. When you go in, let them know that you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. And let us know when you go in and what you have. Tomorrow night, Monday Wine and Dine. Bottle of wine, 2 entrees, $70, under $70. Hard to beat these days. All right, let's go to, I still see you there, Mike. I still see you. Well, Mike's actually next up after my man, Mr. Moss. What's up, dude?
All right. What's up, man? I see you working overtime tonight, man.
I am. It's been a long couple of weeks, but I love it. This is what it's all about. This is why you grind.
Yeah.
It's the
Nice
moments
tonight,
like
man.
this, dude. Absolutely.
So we're here, right?
We are here.
It's happened. Just let me give my thoughts on it real quick.
Yeah.
It's
Floor
not
is
as bad
yours.
as I could seem. I'm with you. I'm kind of in the middle a little bit. You know, I mean, you look at Zach's numbers and his splits. You know, you mentioned 24 points a game, 42 games played, but look at those field goal percentages. I mean, two guards usually don't shoot that well from the floor. What, 51 from the field, 44 from 3-point range? I mean, come on. I mean, that's killing it, right? Not sure he'll get the same shots in Sacramento, nor should he. But, you know, I think he should still be a high efficient two guard. Could they have got a better package? Yeah, of course. I think so. I mean, they could have dealt with Miami. You know, they could have went, you know, with the Portland Trailblazers, go get a Jeremy Grant and maybe, you know, a Sharp, you know, something along those lines. You don't always have to get the big fish. Sometimes it's more about the better fit, not the better player per se, right? There's a reason why Dallas wanted Anthony Davis next to those bigs, right? I mean, come on. I mean, we know Dallas could have got a lot more for Luka Doncic, but they went for the better fit. Here's why I'm disappointed at, right? I wish the Kings wouldn't have Annie up and sent him to the Spurs, right? The Spurs were out there and the Kings sent him where he wanted to go. And I don't like that, right? You can't pout. You can't, you know, be a not so happy camper and then you get to go where you want to go, right? I mean, these guys are already living a fabulous life. And so that part I didn't like. And so that was a little disappointing. But it's not as bad as people think it is. You know what I'm saying? I was surprised that they didn't get back their pick swap. You know, they could have got some better picks, you know, in return. But I think they were up against it. And if I'm not mistaken, too, Rhino, you know, Zach LaVine's name had came across the King's desk a few times, I heard, and they didn't pull the trigger. So the question becomes, why now? I mean, is it the 42 games? Is it the field goal percentage? You know, so I don't know what that is about. You know, I mean, you pulled the trigger now. So that's a question. So now the question becomes, where do they go from here, right? What's the expectation here in Sacramento? You put up the next couple of years of who's on the roster, who's doing what. There's still some decisions to be made, right? Listen, I don't think Keegan Murray is safe, you know, this year or next year. I think he's a guy that they can possibly still move and get something in return for. You know, their coaching, you know, head coaching is still in question mark, right? I don't think Doug's a long-term goal, but he's there now. And so they got to figure that part out, you know. And so I want to ask you a question, man. Everybody's so keyed on getting a big guy in here, Rhino, next to Sabonis, but it has to be the right big guy because Sabonis isn't your average four, right? I mean, he dictates a lot for this Kings offense. That high pick and roll, dribble handoff, you know, free throw line extended. You know, you can't just have a big posted up down low and the Kings are trying to run offense. And so I don't know who that big guy is. You know, the guy mentioned Lopez. I like that. Right, stretch five, can shoot the three ball, kind of extend you out a little bit. You know, so there are some guys out there. But I'm with you though. I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed, and I'm not overly excited. I'm just in the middle because we still have to play the waiting game. I mean, this isn't the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you this last part, and then I'll let you get to the next person. I think the Spurs did something good today, right? They're building for the future, right? You get Darren over there. You already got Wemby. Oh, Lord. And then you just build around those two guys, right? And now you can't tell me free agency, buyout market, etc., off-season moves. Guys don't want to go there and play with those two guys. And so in the next 2 to 3 years, the Spurs are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So that's going to be interesting to see. Oh, I can't hear you, Rhino.
Thanks. You get De'Aaron Fox without giving up your 2025 pick, and you get him without giving up Steph Castle.
Mm-hmm.
You win the day on that end for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if you look at those picks that the Kings did get back and they're unprotected, I mean, come on. I mean, the Spurs are going to be good the next couple of 2 or 3 years. So
I hear you.
27, 28 pick. I mean, what? I mean, you're going to be getting what? Their 25th, 26th pick.
It's an excellent point.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Well, it's actually that, is the 27-28 the Spurs or Atlanta's? Got to go back and look at that.
Think Atlanta's unprotected.
Okay. So
I could be wrong. Oh, no,
unprotected. Oh, it is the Spurs.
It
Yep,
is the Spurs. Yes,
unprotected.
it's the
So it's
Spurs.
not. Yeah,
Yeah,
exact.
it's
Great
the
point.
Spurs. And just the Spurs. And if you don't mind, Ron, just one last point, man. I promise.
Yeah,
man.
really quick. So I'm gonna get Napes in here. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. Dang, I had a brain freeze. Last point. I was going to say this. You know what, man? Get Napes in. I got a brain freeze. It was right there. Then
All
I
right,
lost it.
Moss. Good
No worries,
points.
man. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate you.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Speaking of the man, Mike, we'll be coming to you in a minute. You get to speak to Napes and I. Grant is here, Mr. Napier. So glad you could join us.
It's great to be on. Wow, right? I mean, I'm like everybody else, a wow. So I want to get your opinion first. You've had a chance to digest this. What are your thoughts for those that are just joining us, like myself and others? Just give me a quick recount of how you feel about this.
I'm really in the middle right now, Grant. I'm completely in the middle. I don't know how much of a 42 game sample size of Zach LaVine this season playing healthy, but playing well changes the outlook on Zach LaVine because of his entire body of work and games missed. As for the draft compensation, I just don't know because now you've got that bad contract.
Yeah.
You've got that bad contract and the same problem that you've got to fill depth and improve other holes on this roster. And it really becomes, can the Kings make another move before the deadline, or can the Kings get LaVine to stay healthy and outperform or perform to his contract and maintain an asset? How about you?
All right. Right now, to me, the Kings are just a horrible defensive team. All right. Horrible. They may outscore you on a lot of nights, but on nights when they're not shooting well, which has been a lot of nights, I don't know, Ryan, how they're going to stop anybody at all. That's number one. Number two, draft picks are only what they are. They're draft picks. And they don't do you any good if you take Marvin Bagley at number 2, or you take Thomas Robinson at number 5, or you take Nick Stauskas at number 7, or you take Jimmer Fredette. You know what I'm saying? Like, lottery picks, draft picks are fine and dandy if you draft the right guy. If you don't draft well, lottery picks don't mean anything to me. I want value for value when I trade someone like De'Aaron Fox. So there's a large part of this deal where you don't know what the value is going to be because you can't predict who the draft picks are going to be and whether they're going to be any good or not. I'm not ready to throw the wool over your eyes or my eyes and say that Devin Carter can't play. But right now, he has been less than flattering, but he has very unusual circumstances because he had no training camp. He didn't play the first couple of months. So I'm going to give him a lot of time. All right. But you don't know about him. I think the Spurs made out like bandits on this deal.
Oh, yeah.
Like bandits, right? Now, I also think Fox is a little overvalued myself. All right. I think he's a good player. I think he's a very good player, but I think it stops right there. Okay. There's a reason why he's only been on one All-Star team in this his 8th year, and he was added on and his only appearance. That doesn't mean he's not a good player, but again, I am only going by people call him a superstar. He's not a superstar.
No.
Come on.
Luka Doncic isn't worth the supermax to Dallas, Grant.
Huh?
Luka is not worth a supermax to Dallas, so what's De'Aaron?
All right, well, I've told you this on a couple of occasions about Luka, if I can just diverse for a minute. They were very concerned about his work ethic, his diet, his conditioning, and he was not the easiest cat in the room to deal with behind the scenes. And it just got to a point where they didn't feel that with those issues, which he has had since a teenager, by the way, that was going to work for them long term. I think that the Luka Anthony Davis trade is the most bizarre, if I can use that word, amazing trade that I've ever witnessed in my years of covering the NBA. You trade a guy that's not really even in his prime yet, who has already taken a team to the NBA Finals, MVP, who is a Mr. Clutch player, and you just traded him to the Lakers for Anthony Davis? I'm sorry, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, in some ways, everybody's been saying, what's the succession plan going to be for the Lakers? LeBron's closer to the end than the beginning. It's not going to just be AD. You have now, if Luka works out, Luka gets those things into order that you're talking about, you have now just fulfilled a hell of a succession plan behind LeBron James, Daves.
Wow. All right. So let's get back to the Kings for a moment. Let's talk about with what we know and what we don't know.
Can I
What?
say one thing though about the picks
Yes.
to your comments? Here's my concern about the picks. Did the Kings really get any first round picks here? The 2025 from Charlotte's a top 14 protected, which could turn into 2 second-round picks. If the Spurs continue on the same trajectory, 2027 first round pick from the Spurs, it's going to be closer to the second round than the first round, most likely. And 2031 unprotected from Minnesota. Who knows there? And that's way far out. That's past the core of this team.
There's nothing that impresses me with what you just said. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
That's a big concern. That to me is you got to flip it immediately. If this market is going to dictate that trade asset or draft picks are going to be more valuable than actual players and assets right now, you got to do something right now while people are still figuring out this CBA.
All right, I want to talk. Okay, I want to talk about De'Aaron Fox for a moment. Here's what's sad to me. The Kings did a lot for De'Aaron Fox. They gave him a big deal. They got him an impact all-star down low, right? And you know what, Rhino? He wanted out. He didn't want to be part of the team anymore. I don't really care what you hear. You tell me, Ryan, this guy wanted to stay in Sacramento. Maybe he wanted to stay in Sacramento 2 years ago, but he didn't want to stay in Sacramento anymore. And that's just a shame. The fans adored him. The community loved him. He was given a really good roster with DeMar DeRozan, with Domantas Sabonis, with Malik Monk, right? I mean, he was given very, very, very talented players to play with, and that wasn't good enough for him. And I don't know what San Antonio's getting in Fox. Didn't really look like a leader to me. That's not a leader to me. You know, a leader doesn't blow off the media for 3 weeks in the middle of the season. A leader doesn't say what he said about Mike Brown. A leader doesn't handle post-game press conferences the way Fox did all too often this year. That really leaves a bad taste on my mouth. It really does. I just, we know that there's no loyalty in sports, but for those that say that the Kings didn't do anything to appease Fox, I'm sorry, you are blind.
So I'm so glad that you said what you said. And I'm going to ask you the same question I was asked earlier. Does the last 2 weeks and him wanting to be out affect his legacy more than anything that's happened before that during his tenure in Sacramento?
I think it affects his legacy. I mean, personally, if I were at Golden One Center when he comes back to play for the Spurs, I wouldn't get up and give him a standing ovation.
But do you put it at the top of the list asking out, or do you put the not speaking to the media for 3 weeks? Do you put the Halliburton stuff? How do you rank that?
First of all, I don't know for sure what went on behind the scenes. So I don't want to speculate on what order I would put him wanting out, because I am using my opinion based on some of the people I've spoken to and what my eyes have told me and what my ears have heard. I didn't hear De'Aaron say anything about wanting to stay in Sacramento recently. I didn't hear De'Aaron say, I don't want to be traded recently. He wanted out. And now he's going to his number one preferred destination. I talked about this, Ryan, I want to say back in December. I told you right here on If You Don't Like That his preferred destination was San Antonio.
100%. Somebody said Houston. You're like, not so quick.
That's right.
I remember.
I said San Antonio. And here we are before the trade deadline, and he is gone. And I just wonder if the Kings became a better team today for this year, and did they become a better team for the future? And based on what I'm seeing right now, There's no way in the world you can tell me the Kings became a better team for the future today.
I agree with you. I don't think we can properly have the conversation until 12 p.m. on Thursday.
I would agree with that. It is going to be a crazy week.
Yeah. We've still got a lot to talk about. I want to bring Mike on really quick. He's been waiting for a while to get his call off. Mike, what's up tonight? You're on with Grant and Ryan.
Well, guys, big news, obviously. First off, De'Aaron Fox, Grant Napier said it the best. We gave everything to this guy. He got the post player. He had an all-star. I just felt, why would he want to go to San Antonio? I think it's going to be, maybe Grant can answer this. Is San Antonio a small market? I'm really not quite sure.
Well, he's from South Texas.
Okay, but they're going to get a lot of media attention because of Wemby. And I think he just went over there to be where the limelight is going to be. Also, the whole league, not just the Kings. At first, I thought it was the Kings. They shoot terrible three-point percentage, and De'Aaron was a big part of that. You have a league that's casting 41 threes, and you're making 11. I just think it's ridiculous. I wish the best for De'Aaron Fox, but with LaVine, I think it's going to be maybe a better shooter, hopefully better from three-point. And if he fits in, maybe we could salvage a season. Last question for you guys. I'll make it quick. It seems like when he's out, no more De'Aaron Fox, who's really going to run the point and the backup? And that's all I got for you. One last thing. Grant Napier, you're the voice of the Kings. I grew up on you. Love you guys. Go Kings, baby.
Thank you,
Mike.
All right. Well, Malik Monk's going to be the guy running the team, just like he did when De'Aaron was out.
Yep, Malik and Devin Carter, and we've talked, is Colby going to get recalled from Stockton? What's going to happen? Maybe Mason plays a little bit more on that two-way contract. Kings make another move. Here's what I want to say, Grant, and I don't think it's going to be a very popular take. But now that De'Aaron has gotten to his preferred destination, I'm ready to say it. You look at De'Aaron's style of play the last 2 years. Very, very heavy on the three ball. Not as much to the hoop. Needed to be pushed by his coach, Luke Laux, to get to the paint more. What put him on the map, what made him special, the separator in a league that was all three-point shooting, him wanting to go to San Antonio, seeing the future, seeing Wemby, three things add up to me, and they all lead to the same road. He wants the easy way to success.
I don't disagree with that. And I want to hear what De'Aaron says when he's asked about all of this. I want to hear how he responds. Not that I'm going to believe what he says, but I want to look at his face when he's talking. And I just think this is so unbelievable what's transpired from the fork in the road comment that you made before the Laker games, right?
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about what you said. A fork in the road. They lost both those games. Mike Brown got fired. Doug Christie named interim coach. Everyone gets excited because the Kings go on a win streak. Now they look awful. And in a span of that comment that you made 6 weeks ago, De'Aaron Fox is no longer on the team.
Goes quick. It's incredible. The fact that you recap it that way, Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox, gone 6 weeks.
Yep. How about that?
Insane.
And you could make the argument, that Mike Brown was fired because of his comment about De'Aaron Fox and because of the rift, if you want to call it that. Call it whatever you want. I don't know if there was, but you know what I mean. I mean, there was
100. Yeah, absolutely. They were rifted. Well, whether behind the scenes, whether it was kosher or not, they were going back and forth in the media.
Yes,
well, the
that's
Kings
correct.
were losing. They were
That's
going
right.
back and forth.
So you fire the coach and now you get rid of the guy that probably caused the coach to lose his job.
And one thing that's come up tonight before you got here is DeMar DeRozan going to want to stay now in Sacramento. He's made some comments alluding to he came because of Fox, Sabonis, and Monk. They were part of the recruiting process. He doesn't see himself playing more than 5 years.
I have no
How does
problem
that
trading
play out?
DeMar DeRozan. You know why he's not part of the future anymore?
He's not, no.
So why would you keep him? See, to me, the last caller used the word salvage this season. What does that mean? Like, what's salvaging this season? The reality is that this Kings team right now, and again, you're right, we need to wait until the completion of the trade deadline. All those draft picks, which we don't know what they would turn out to be, DeMar DeRozan is not part, all right? Not part of this future.
No,
you know?
No, he's not.
And we appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. So great that you just found us. Thank you.
Yeah,
We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, make sure. Thank you very much. Subscribe. Just scan that QR code and you'll find us some more. We really appreciate
Thanks
you.
again. Appreciate the super chat. But again, Rhino, so are the Kings better right now today than they were this morning? Right?
I don't know. My gut says no. Let me counter that question with this. Are the Kings right now closer to a rebuild or a retool?
They're closer to a rebuild right now. And here's the other deal. How many basketballs will they throw out on the floor when Zach LaVine plays his first game in Sacramento?
I don't think the basketball is going to be an issue.
I do.
I don't. I think
do.
it's going to. I think that it's going to be needed. I think he averages this year. He's averaging 4.5 assists, Grant, for what it's worth with the Cavs.
I understand.
In
I understand.
Chicago.
I know
I guess
one thing. I don't see Keegan Murray's development. See, that's another guy right now. Where's Keegan Murray fit into all of this? Because now you have everyone on the floor is a much better scorer than Keegan Murray. So where is Keegan fit into this? And is he more expendable now, or is he less expendable now?
He's even
That's
more.
what I mean.
He is.
Well, I'm asking the question.
Yeah, he's more important now defensively. 100%. You've got to have Keegan Murray on the floor, Grant.
I'm with you. I think that side of the ball, if you lose him and you don't get a better defender, you're screwed.
Yeah. Man, this is going to be a wild 4 days, partner.
It is. I don't recall a 24 hours like we've just had, not even 24, less than 24, with the Luka news for Anthony Davis. That just took – when I first saw that, I thought it was a fake account.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
I know.
I was like, I didn't even – you know what? I didn't even bother reading it. I was like – I go, what's wrong with people?
Shams got hacked. Shams got hacked.
Really, I honestly didn't even pay attention. I'm like, how stupid are people? And I didn't even bother to research it. And then a half hour later, I look at my phone again. I'm like, oh my God, this is real. But when I first saw it, I'm like, what's wrong with people? How stupid are people? You know?
I hear you. Wade, welcome in tonight. Thanks for calling.
Grant. Hey, Rhino.
Hey,
so I think this trade, I'm going to kind of give my sentiment. Usually with trades, there's a level of excitement because you don't know how the fit's going to go, and it may be nice. But we've already seen Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan together. They were both 2 or 3 years younger in the Chicago Bulls with the system built around them. So there's no real, we already know how that movie's going to end. I think also this is a trade to save face for Vivek. He brings in a quote-unquote big name. He's making $50 million a year. But at least he can tell his fans, look, we have fun superstar. Throw towels in the audience. So what do you guys think?
Well, you shouldn't use the word superstar because he's not a superstar.
Yeah, he's not.
Okay.
In Vivek's eyes, he is.
I don't know. Vivek doesn't think like anyone on this stream. So, no, I don't mean that in a.
No, I know, but you're right. That's why it's funny.
I'm not even trying to be mean or funny. I'm just telling you, he doesn't think like anyone that's watching. We have thousands of people watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
No one thinks like he does. So I don't know what the hell he's thinking. But I don't see how the Kings, without knowing what they may do before Thursday, they don't excite me for the rest of the teams in the West right now. I'll just say that.
Right. Yeah. And I think the thing about Fox, I agree he's not a real leader. But I think if there's any organization that can rehabilitate someone like that, I believe it's the Spurs. I believe Popovich has forgotten more about basketball than the Kings front office knows. So I think if there's any organization that can turn him into a winning player, it would be San Antonio.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that assessment. 100%. I mean, for him, it is from the hierarchy and the coaching, even though Pop is, on the
he's
mend.
still
But
heavily involved from what I heard. Like he's calling every night with the game
I'm
plan.
telling you, you are 100%. I mean, all you got to do is ask Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and so many of those other players that he's had there. Ask them what impact Pop had on their careers, and they'll talk for hours. So you're 100% correct.
Right. And then the thing I'll say in closing, the Kings got a bunch of draft picks, but the Spurs won that deal. They got to keep the best picks.
Yep.
And, giving the Sacramento Kings draft picks is like giving a baby access to fireworks. So, thanks for.
Thanks, Wade.
Thank you. Draft picks are only what they are. They're picks. And you don't know what. And here's the other thing about draft picks. They take years to develop. So right now, today, in February of 2025, why would I be excited about draft picks? I'm a fan of the Kings. I want the team to win now. Now you're going to tell me I got all these draft picks?
Grant,
I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Napes, this was a win now team before game one. This was a win now team, and tomorrow's going to be thin. Number one is this all gets figured out and we go through the paces. But you said that Fox would be dealt before the deadline. I was on the other side of the spectrum.
Yep.
And as I see this deal, the question of just why keeps coming up. Like why it feels like this deal could have been there. Why not wait and explore? What was the rush? In San Antonio, as you so accurately said, made out like bandits on this deal.
I think the Spurs, assuming that Fox stays healthy and fits in with Wemby like the Spurs think they will, they may go soaring right past Sacramento in the very near future.
Very interesting stuff. Let's bring in an OG, big time friend of the channel, Dorian.
Hey guys,
how you doing, buddy?
Hey Dorian, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, guys. What a crazy day for the NBA. I woke up to that Mavs news. That was pretty wild. And obviously, throughout the day, just kind of watching what's kind of transpired with Fox. Ryan knows this. I'm someone that was more 60-40 trade Fox just because of his attitude, his leadership. I mean, he's been with the Kings organization for eight seasons. Only went to the playoffs one time. And you could root for Fox and also root for the Kings. But I'd kind of like to come to Fox's defense here because the first 5 seasons of Fox's career, and I was around him in 2017 for that full season, his rookie year. I mean, he had Dave Yeager, he had Walton, he had Coach Gentry. You could kind of argue that Fox didn't really have a decent team. I mean, those first 5 years, right? Not winning seasons. And then
I agree. I'm okay with agreeing with that. What about the last 2.5 years?
Underachieved, 100% underachieved. But I think to Fox's defense as well, Grant, him and his team asked the organization, the front office, to make some moves to improve the team. Yeah, you bring in DeMar, right? And you're very much underachieving this year. But I think for Fox's defense, I think Fox asked the organization to improve the team, and the team has not improved.
Well, I'm sorry. He's one of the main reasons why the team didn't improve.
Yeah, you could definitely make that argument too. Obviously,
I mean, the personnel-wise, they improved.
Sure. I just don't think that. I just don't think that Fox is. He's had 8 seasons here, and his first 5 are arguably. You can't really put that into comparison because he's had 3 coaches, and he hasn't had winning seasons. From Beam Team 1 to last year to this year, I think you can make a better argument about hey, Fox, you have.
Okay, but isn't it isn't it what have you done for me lately? And so let's say we take the first 5 years or first 4.5 years or whatever and throw them out the window. Make believe
Sure.
they didn't even happen. I'm with you. I'll be on your side of the argument there.
Totally.
But right now in 2025, that's not the case.
Yeah, I
Right?
would.
I mean, it's not the case.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you with that. With you that. But Fox's team, from what it sounds like, did ask the organization to improve the team, improve the bench. Now, Fox, right? Potential all-star, great numbers. You could argue that he doesn't improve the team around him. He has had great pieces around him, but I don't think this team is underachieving. And for those fans that want Fox to be here, again, I'm someone that wanted Fox to be traded. I think it's best for the future of the Kings. I don't think Fox being here is setting up the team for the team to win, to have success in the future. So like, it sucks. Change is hard, but I think for the future of the Kings, I love Fox, but I love the Kings more, and I want the Kings to win. I want the Kings to be in the playoffs. It sucks that I think the situation could have been prevented if the Kings management would have done what Fox has asked, and that's improved the team besides getting DeMar DeRozan. And that's all I kind of really.
Dorian, at what point does Fox need to improve too?
Yeah.
You put an all-star around him. You brought in DeRozan. I get that's a smaller sample size, but he had Tyrese Halliburton around him. I understand that didn't work. I think Monty failed at the trade deadlines the last 2 years. I've
100%.
said that continuously, but those would have been fringe moves. I think a bigger mistake at this point would have been giving up pieces like Keegan, Keon, guys at Malik Monk at this point. So I think it's a two-way street. I think you're right. The organization could have done some things different, but there's more that Fox could have done with his game too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, 8 seasons here, close to 8 seasons, only one playoff run. I think it's time to move on for Fox. Again, you could cheer for both parties. You could wish Fox the best. I'm going to be in Portland this Thursday, so I might get to see LaVine in his first game. That'll be kind of cool. I don't know this team moving forward, but we do know that as a Kings fan, we want the Kings to win. We want them to go to the playoffs. We want them to have successful seasons. I don't care who wears a Kings uniform. I just want the Kings to win. And you could also wish Fox to have a good rest of his career. So thanks,
you, buddy.
guys. Go Kings. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Dorian. Be well.
Well, as they make this trade without knowing what's going to happen, the Kings are 10th in the Western Conference at 24-24. And I think a lot of us on this stream, and I want to say you, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, think that there will be another deal before Thursday. Is that the way you're leaning?
I have to believe there's another deal for this team to continue to get better. It's what the question I asked you. If there's not another deal, you are so much closer to a rebuild than a retool.
Yes.
So much closer.
I would agree with that. Yeah. And Kings fans don't want that.
No. That was the whole point when we looked at what Fox was doing, Grant, when we looked at the numbers of the 5 pieces that were working, it's bringing other pieces that work with them. And I get Sack might be one of those pieces, but we weren't talking one piece. And maybe it wasn't going to be all this year, Napes, but realistically, you're not going to have a first-round pick from Charlotte this year to go towards next year's team. I don't know.
All right, so there's another part of this. What does this mean for Doug Christie? What happens if this team doesn't finish in the top 10? Are people going to look back and go, yeah, but you know what?
That's a good question. It
was too hard for that. They changed the makeup of the team, blah, blah, blah. And when they traded for LaVine, they were 10th in the West, and you can't really put that on the coach. And the owner loves the coach. And, you know, like, what does this mean for Monty McNair? I would think Monty's going to get fired. That's my own opinion, because Vivek will be looking to blame somebody. And then if you bring in a new GM, he's not going to want Doug as the coach. So then you're really looking at a do-over. You'd have a new general manager, a new head coach, and a team that is not really built for the future.
Let's go back to something you said about Monty. This feels more like a Vivek deal than it does a Monty deal. to me. If you look at big, I know you only have one big one to go by, but this was a deal that's been sitting there for a long time. It almost feels like a panic deal in some sense, Grant. Do you think this is more Vivek than Monty?
Well, Vivek has his hand in everything that goes on in the organization like that. I mean, I can guarantee you he was extremely involved in this. My question is, did the Kings have any talks with the Lakers?
Well, there were some reports about Caleb Martin possibly, but I have no idea beyond that. And that came out late yesterday after the Luka deal.
Okay, so while we're going around and around here, and we really appreciate all the people that are with us, I'm going to ask you two questions. I'm going to start with the Lakers. Did the Lakers become a better team today?
Not in the interim.
Did the Mavericks become a better team today?
Yes.
Why?
Size. It's what you need to combat right now in the Western Conference, assuming AD is able to stay healthy. You match, there's so many different things you can do with Kyrie, AD. The Mavs already had a decent front line. You're more athletic. That was a problem for them. Getting rid of Jones Jr., who's with the Clippers now. I think that they are overall a better team, Grant. You?
Okay. Well, Lucas missed a lot of time this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why the Mavericks are 500, and he's the reason why they're 500. Now, they've been decimated the last 2 weeks with injuries to their bigs. So getting Anthony Davis, once his abdominal strain gets better, which who knows when that's going to be, will definitely change that. And let's also talk about this. This impacts Sacramento big time with their remaining games with Dallas.
No doubt.
Assuming that Anthony Davis is on the floor. That changes everything.
Absolutely.
Changes everything because the Kings have already played the Lakers 4 times and they lost all 4 times.
Spot freaking on, partner. Nailed it.
I don't think the Kings right now, if I'm a season ticket holder and I'm, one of the loyal fans that are watching the games every night, and this deal does not excite me today. No.
And I think that's kind of been the general consensus from the calls from the chat so far. You're a sidestep at best today at best. And I guess the wild card, and I go back to this, is not just what the Kings do at the deadline, but what the value of players looks like if more players are moved. What are you getting for other players that are possibly of Fox's caliber, under if some guys get more or less, and how that makes this deal look better or worse? That's going to play out as well. But I'm not, as a fan, I'm not encouraged about the product. I'm more worried.
A lot of people saying Vivek wanted LaVine. He did. Remember, the Kings years ago signed him to an offer sheet, and the Bulls matched it within 5 minutes.
That's right.
That's when Vlade was the GM. Vlade really likes Zach LaVine too. Vivek likes. I know that. We used to talk about this all the time. They did like Zach LaVine, but they were unable to get him. But now they get him. And again, it's a guy with a history of injuries.
Very much. Bo, welcome on tonight. Thanks for the waiting.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How are you?
Going great. I actually found your guys' show from one of my friends, Grant. He always loved listening to you, and we haven't heard your voice, so I was excited that I ran into this. So it's funny. First live show, Fox traded. So kind of strange.
Well, make sure you subscribe, please, so you always know when we're doing content.
I already did, so you'll be added on. I'm gonna probably be the not so popular fan. I mean, I just started being a season ticket member last year, so this is my second year in.
Okay.
Getting to about 35, 36 games a year out of the 41. And for me, we've been through it for a while. I'm actually a fan of staying similar. I think LaVine gives us similar things that Fox does besides the defense. Yes, we lose Fox's, wraparound steals that he's famous for. I don't think LaVine will be doing that, but we're not a good defensive team anyways. So I enjoy watching good basketball. If it's a loss, but it's fun and I had a good time, it's better than just going to a game knowing you're not going to be competitive and you're just automatically taking an L. It's just, it kind of gets depressing. Life's not easy. So it's nice to go to a Kings game knowing at least you can be in it at the end. I mean, maybe those are bad goals to have. Maybe I've been a Kings fan too long. But I mean, if we get into a play-in, fantastic. If we get into a round one that was one of I had so much fun in that Warriors series.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we lost, but I enjoyed it. It was a good year.
It was great, and it was great for the city. And Ryan and I were doing shows at restaurants during all of those games, and the atmosphere was unbelievable. So yes, I'm with you on that. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. So I mean, the draft picks maybe a little bit disappointing. I got excited about that Charlotte pick, and then I did my homework before I hopped on here and learned that wasn't what I thought it was. I was like, oh my goodness, could we get flagged? No, that's not real, Bo. But I just want to end it on this. I mean, shoot, I loved watching Zach LaVine in those 2 dunk contests. He's a fun guy, probably on the wrong side of age, but I think he probably has 2 or 3 legit years left. And if we can maybe get back to just playing hustle defense and our team isn't so distracted, you could tell Doug Christie was so upset, and I want nothing but best from Doug Christie. I mean, I love the Doug Christie era, and regardless if he gets the job or not, I mean, I want to see him succeed out there, and you could tell he wanted to be out on the court. I mean, his players wouldn't play. So I hope it turns around and we see Doug have some fun and we get some wins here and see where it goes. I'm not thinking about 5 years. I'm just thinking about going to Orlando game and have some fun and hopefully.
Hey, Bo, thank you, by the way, for calling and finding the channel. Did you re-up your tickets already for next year? And if you haven't, are you going to?
It's coming up. I think that's mid-February. I sure am. We have a group of 6. We sit way up, 202 row Q. So we're almost right by the wall. It's a generous deal. So I think I'm going to re-up. I don't know if all 6 will. But me and my girlfriend love going, so I think we're going to re-up no matter what. Just because it's a sport in the winter, so it gets us out of the house.
Yeah,
so,
good for you.
Yep, absolutely. I'll let you guys go.
Spread the word since you just found us. Spread the word to your buddies that we're doing this and to follow us. Okay.
Yes, I will, Grant. Hey, thanks so much. It was nice meeting you. And hopefully we'll chat again soon. Go Kings.
Hey, thanks very much. That's really nice to get a first-time viewer on a day like this. I also want to let people know that tomorrow on the postgame, I'll have a rant with Grant brought to you by EDH Motors. And EDH Motors is awesome. They're in El Dorado Hills, obviously. Automotive Reimagined. David and Adam, 2 guys trying to do something different and better, a new concept that is long overdue. You don't have to go to a dealership. They'll do everything, and they can do everything. They have decades of automotive experience. You go to edhmotors.com. That's edhmotors.com. If you don't find what you're looking for, don't worry about it. David and Adam will get it for you, all right? Whether it's selling your vehicle, you want a special vehicle, whatever it is, they will do it for you, and you'll take delivery, as I said, at their beautiful auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center without ever going to a dealership. Just go to edhmotors.com. That's EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined, and that will be tomorrow on the postgame show.
De'Aaron Fox, not the only King affected. Kevin Huerter on his way out, Grant.
Yeah. Kevin Huerter was an underachiever for the Sacramento Kings, and hopefully, because he's a good guy, hopefully he'll be able to resurrect his career.
I would agree with you, Rudy. Thank you very much for the super chat. Spurs win the trade in the long run.
I don't think there's any question about that.
If you got Wembanyama, you're going to be winning most trades as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah. Yep. And now you have a shifting of the power in the West with Luka going to the Lakers, AD going to the Mavs, Fox going to the Spurs, Zach LaVine going from East to West. I mean, not that Zach LaVine doesn't necessarily fit in with Luka and Davis. I don't want to misspeak. I'm just trying to tell you that now teams' rosters have changed significantly with a couple days still left to go in the trade deadline.
Do you think, based on what you've said about Luka and we've talked about, if anybody can kind of get through to him, do you think it's LBJ? Because they've got opposite programs, it seems.
Oh, boy.
Like.
Yeah, well, It depends what Luka wants for himself. Does Luka just want to be a guy that is relying on his natural ability of being great, or does he want to go to even the higher level and get his body in the shape for the first time in his life?
I wonder how that affects Luka's game if he's in shape, because the size to a degree sometimes helps him out, Naves.
Well, when I'm looking at his lower extremity injuries,
yeah,
I think it does impact him in a negative way.
It's a good point.
So, yeah, I really do. Love having everybody on this stream. Love the fact that we have so many people that are watching as we continue to roll right here. And don't forget about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fixed view. They are available around the clock. So, folks, plumbing needs, plumbing concerns, that is the place. New Works Plumbing. You can also go to newworksplumbing.com, NEWWRXplumbing.com. Call the number on your screen. They've got a fix for you. And I really hope that you were able to get to Bennett's this weekend and enjoy their great brunch, prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's, whether it is the West Side Grill in Rockland, or it's Roseville or Sacramento. You get the same great quality food. Don't forget about their daily happy hour, 2 to 6. All right, sips and taste. Just go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, Bennett'sRestaurants.com, prime seafood and steaks, Bennett'sRestaurants.com, then make a reservation.
I shared the secret already about Bennett's. I couldn't hold back. I was a little hungry. I wanted to look at those pictures too.
Oh, you know what? That's fine. Brian is such a phenomenal person who's so charitable to the community. I'm happy to give him 2 reads in a show. So that's great.
Amen. You think the Kings have a press conference after this trade deadline?
If they don't, that will be an embarrassment, because the fact that Monty McNair did not have a press conference after the Mike Brown firing is embarrassing.
Terrible. Really, really bad. All right. Let's bring on no college football tonight, Corn Dog. Strictly Kings. Strictly Kings, my man. What's up?
Yeah, I'm actually very for this trade. We got some picks, a lot of picks out of this one. I'm, you know me, I was almost for, pretty much just blowing the whole thing up, and just, just stacking as many picks as possible and just letting, whoever we have, like LaVine, I guess at this point, and DeRozan, just, play out those contracts and just build up young guys in picks. I'm not opposed at all to doing that. I'm not, again, at this point, I'm not even supposed to, trading what we could for Monk and Sabonis and adding more to the stash of picks. I'm not.
The only problem is you're going to have to re-sign Monk and Sabonis for them to play with all of those picks if the Kings actually make them. So do you think the Kings make a move before Thursday? Another move?
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure if Monty's done yet.
All right. Well, I do like LaVine. He's got a little bit of attitude and fire in him. Kings can always use a little bit more of that. But
he's actually been playing pretty good this year. He's shooting, 50% from the field, beyond 40 from the arc.
Yeah, he's almost played twice as many games as last year too.
Yeah, he's been very good this year. But also, I guess the funny thing is that, we've made 2 Chicago Bulls Spurs trades, the last 2 trades that we've done pretty much.
Yeah, that's true.
If they don't make another deal before Thursday, I'm even less, well, the word, I'm not excited, but I'm really down on where this team went this week if they don't make another deal. The question is, where are you going to make a deal with what? In other words, which players are we talking about?
Yeah,
like, in other words, is it going to be DeMar DeRozan? Is it going to be Keegan Murray? I mean, because if it's Trey Lyles, you're not getting anybody. My point is, are you going to dangle out Devin Carter? I mean, who are you going to use to acquire talent?
Trey Lyles and a couple of seconds could probably get you Valanciunas. But that doesn't help your guard situation to a degree. I guess, okay, who out of this core are you most willing to part with, Grant and Corn Dog?
Personally, I'm fine to depart with DeRozan because now you have another bona fide scorer in Zach LaVine, who, along with Sabonis, Murray, and Monk, your bench is still terrible. So I'm not even going to talk about the bench, but you have enough offense. I'm fine with moving DeRozan at age 35.
I'm not opposed to that one as well. I don't know what the market is for 35-year-old DeRozan at the moment.
I mean, to a contender, I mean, he's making 23.4 this year, 24.5 next year, and 25.7 and 26.27. So it's a reasonable contract for what you're getting. It's probably his last run, as he said it himself. So interesting. Well, Corn Dog, appreciate you, brother.
Yep. I'll probably talk to you again this Monday on King's Court.
Sounds good.
Thank
Give
you,
me a
bud.
call.
Grant for GM. I'll be happy to take the GM salary. I'll tell you that right now. Thank you very much for the super chat.
Interesting question, Grant. Is there any addition by subtraction aspect here?
Yes, that's a great question. We saw a glimpse of the Sacramento Kings without De'Aaron Fox, where they were clicking on all cylinders, ball movement, everything else, including a big win at Boston. Yes?
100%.
Is that going to be this? Can we see that same team now? Well, we could.
But they can't play 48 minutes. That's the problem.
Right.
I think there could be a good aspect here. To a degree, you are turning, regardless of Zach LaVine coming to this team, you are turning the keys over to Malik Monk. You are turning them over to him as more or less the floor general. And for me, there's not a better guy with energy and balance in the locker room. Things are low, he brings them up. Things are high, he brings you back down.
Yep.
I think that I would rather have the guys follow Malik than follow Foxy.
I think Monk is very happy today. Personally.
Absolutely.
I think he's very happy. This is great for his career.
And he's already probably planning on opting out 27-28 when he's making $21 million.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is Malik Monk's very happy today. He's very happy. This is a very good situation for Malik Monk. Now he's getting everything that he wants.
Very ironic. This is what I said in the summer. I said, turn it over to Malik. Now, I didn't know they were going to be this thin, but here we are today. Here we are.
You know, I don't like to brag, but you've hit this on the head. I hit it on the head in December when I said that San Antonio was Fox's preferred destination, or November. I can't remember when it was. And that's why I'm so happy that you all are with us, because you're getting unbiased, objective information on this show. All right. Kings fans, yes, but objectivity comes first and foremost, and we have information. And I think that the people, and I'm saying this not to pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to pat you on the back, to everyone that's watching. You've really helped this channel succeed and grow, and you're with us through thick and thin. And it's my way of just saying thank you. Thank you very much for putting trust in us, because we don't say what you want to hear. We say what we think. And a lot of times you get upset at us, and that's okay, because you're still with us. We share different opinions, and our opinions can be different, but we share them and we make this work. So thank you very much.
Well said, partner. Couldn't agree more. We have spirited debates, and we always hug it out at the end. We're all on the same team with the same goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is, I just want to get a yes or no, and we won't be able to keep up. So yes is, do you think that this is the only deal the Kings will make this week? No, obviously means they'll make another deal. So give me a yes or no. Do you think today is the only deal that the Kings will make? If so, yes. If not, no. Ryan, you think no, right?
I say no.
Okay.
What about you?
Common sense tells me no, but then I'm asking once again, who do the Kings have to deal? If they're not going to trade Keegan Murray, that only leaves DeMar DeRozan.
Or Devin Carter. A lot of no's. Here's a yes from Flores. No. No, I'm going to try to keep up with as many as these as I can. Good luck.
Do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think that there's a market out there for DeMar DeRozan?
I think it's got to be the right fit, Grant. We look at his salary here in Sacramento being reasonable, but with this CBA, teams do not want to go into those aprons. So if you are an Oklahoma City, if you are perhaps a Houston, where you think that you could get yourself over the finish line right there, possibly this year, this is your chance. I think there's a limited market for DeMar, but not a big one. How about you?
I'm with you on that. I think it's limited. I'm agreeing with you. And then if you find someone that wants DeMar, do they have what you want back in return? So it's going to be tricky.
Great point. What about Devin Carter?
I don't think Devin Carter has a lot of marketability based on where he went in the draft and based on his limited appearances. You can tell that his game offensively has got a ways to go.
Yes. Couldn't agree with you more there.
I mean, that would, to me, make it a little bit more difficult to move him. His offense, the offensive part of his game is going to take a while.
It is. The Kings are going to be relying on some young guys in the backcourt, assuming guys stay healthy, Grant. If guys get hurt, good luck. I mean,
what happens if Malik Monk goes down for any period of time right now?
You're in trouble. It's the old De'Aaron Fox formula. Who's running that pick and roll? I mean, I guess we have to withhold all of our judgment until we see how LaVine plays with Sabonis. But
that's a good point. How is LaVine going to play with Sabonis? That is an excellent point. Hey, Sunrise Landing, the newest residential community in Calusa. Go to CalusaSunrise.com. Check out everything from Blazona Development in Calusa. Great access to I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, 6 models to choose from. No Mellorews, no homeowners, and it is adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Once again, go to CalusaSunrise.com. That's CalusaSunrise.com and get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing. Well, I don't know what to expect for tomorrow in Minnesota. Do you?
I would expect a loss.
Well, you don't know who's playing for Minnesota yet. They got they got a lot of people missing from the lineup last night, and Naz Reid sprained his finger in the third quarter.
How does a move like this affect a locker room in your experience? Do you get a bounce or does it go the other way?
It depends on how the players in the locker room feel about the player that was traded. Very often it's like a breath of fresh air and everything becomes calm again, and the players really like that.
Uh-huh.
But if the player is really well liked and the team feels that they screwed over the player, it will go downhill in a hurry. So it would depend on how the locker room feels about the player that is traded.
Okay. Will LaVine, Grant, take the court on Wednesday versus Orlando?
I would say most certainly yes.
Let's hope LaVine passes a physical. I'm not being a smartass. You don't know. He's had so many injuries in the past. Stuff.
I would think the fact that he's playing right now, correct?
He is.
All right. Well, that would tell me he's going to pass his physical.
Okay. Well, you think
by the way, the status on Naz Reid is he's officially questionable for the game against the Kings. Also, Anthony Edwards listed as questionable with an illness. I would be shocked if Edwards does not play, but he's questionable right now. Julius Randle is out.
There's been something.
Dante DiVincenzo out.
He's out, yeah. There's been something going around the league the last couple of weeks. Stomach thing going around. Well, Doug caught it. Other people have caught it. They've been talking about it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. If the Kings play Minnesota without Naz Reid and Anthony Edwards and without Julius Randle, and they don't win that game, then you got major, major problems.
Yeah, I would expect them to rally tomorrow. I do. It just comes down to what you said. Who's in, who's out.
I would expect Minnesota to rally too, with both Edwards and Nas playing after losing to Washington last night.
Yeah. Or, there's always the possibility that Minnesota makes a move before tomorrow night, too. You've only got 3 days left
very
before the
possible
deadline.
too. Very possible. Now, also understand this, folks. You're 10th in the West. And if the Kings make another move, let's say on Wednesday or Thursday, you then are shorthanded for those games over the next 24 to 48 hours, where one game could really make the difference of whether you're in the show or not this year. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. You got to hope that the other teams that you are playing against might be in the same boat. And that evens the playing field for you.
I do know one thing about Zach LaVine. He's a dynamic scorer, and he is going to make watching the Kings very exciting from an offensive perspective. Defensively, this team looks horrible right now.
Do you remember much from him defensively, watching him play live?
No, he's not going to play defense.
Okay. Are we going to lose tomorrow? Tank, fire, front
Not
office.
are we? We are.
Or we are, excuse me. SDSU, dyslexia here for you.
Yeah. I don't think so. And thank you for the super chat. But no, I don't think so. LaVine is not great. He's good. All right. He's not great. He's good.
This year, 34.1 minutes, averaging 24 points, 51.1%, field goal percentage, 44.6% from beyond the arc, 4.5 rebounds. That's what De'Aaron was not rebounding well towards the end of his time here. And I got to think maybe has something to do with the fingers. 4.5 assists, just under a steal a game for Zach LaVine.
Zach LaVine is a very good player. I mean, he's a very good player. I mean, let's call it the way it is.
Yeah. Is this a win for the Bulls? They finally get that contract off the books?
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bulls are very, very happy today. Right?
I think so. Now, if you could get Lonzo Ball's contract off the books too, you're where you want to be. They want to restart.
That's right. You would be where you want to be. And when you look at Chicago, the Bulls are terrible. Well, I shouldn't say they're terrible. But they're 21 and 29. I shouldn't say they're terrible. But they're 10th in the East, believe it or not. Right?
Yeah.
So, and LaVine's missed what, 7 games this year, I think. I think he's played
42
of the 50 games.
He's played 42.
All right, so he's missed 8 games.
Yeah. I just wish they could have worked in Kobe White.
Oh,
man,
wow.
I would have been so happy.
Yeah.
Could have got Kobe White in that deal. But he's a great player. He's going to be coming up for a nice little payday himself. The East is just so confusing, Grant. Detroit, who actually is playing pretty well. I'm impressed by what Detroit's done this year. Game over 500. Orlando.
Yeah, me too.
Orlando's 2 under 500. Atlanta 5 under 500. Yet they're the 9 seed, and then Chicago, who we just talked about. The West is much different from the East.
Fasten your seatbelts because it's only Sunday, and we have. Thank goodness the Super Bowl wasn't today. I really mean that. Thank goodness there's no NFL playoffs. This is a perfect day to talk about this,
What
right?
do you mean? You weren't glued to the Pro Bowl games? It was so fast.
Don't even get me started on that.
It might be a good night for a rant. I mean, we do have.
Yeah, no, I don't have the energy for a rant. I'm going to save it for tomorrow.
All right, fair enough. One more quick question. Super chat. Thank you very much. Do you think they trade Sabonis?
No.
And start over? No.
No. If they trade Sabonis, I would be shocked.
If they trade Sabonis, I think you're going to have a riot on your hands.
Yeah. Rhino, I give the fans here a lot of credit. We're over 2 hours, and I join you after the first hour.
Yeah,
and
great.
We got great numbers. I love Kings fans. You all are freaking awesome. You really are. You're absolutely awesome.
You're awesome. Great. I started the show. How about you finish the show? Bring us home. Give them your last thoughts, and we'll pump up a big day of content tomorrow. A lot coming still.
All right. I've been through this too often. Okay. I've been through this a lot. In my experience is it takes a while to judge a deal. But on the surface, right now, as I speak to you, I don't like this for Sacramento. I don't think they got enough back. And the draft picks don't mean anything to me. They really don't. I like Zach LaVine. I've always liked Zach LaVine. I've always been a LaVine fan. I want to see how this works because you have one basketball on the floor. And I want to see how many games LaVine plays for Sacramento the rest of the year because of his history with injuries. I'm very leery without knowing what may happen before Thursday of this team being in the postseason this year. Right now, I would say it's more unlikely than likely, but that's why you play the games, right? Here's what I do know. Sacramento fans are freaking awesome. You care when things are going good. You care when things are going bad. You have your opinions. You're educated. And I love doing this show because of you. So remember, still a couple days left before the trade deadline. Fasten those seatbelts, everybody. And just remember this. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. Oh, boy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for making this channel successful. We appreciate the heck out of you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.